Grayson's Grades. It was wild yesterday, and I know we're going to react more to it in the 3 o'clock hour. We have a poll question up at 973 ESPN, and I will simply leave it that I could have come up with a lot of options, but I went with these 4 guys. See what you think that I missed one. These things stand out in the Eagles' loss. Which stands out to you? Wentz erratic play, Aguilar's drop, Lane Johnson getting injured, and I thought one that is really not getting talked about, I thought changed the game, was that Nate Geary missed tackle. It's a -1 on that play. He's an NFL linebacker, and he can't make a tackle. And it cost them because Burkhead ends up going for he ran right through him. Now, you got to make that tackle. He runs right through him, and it sets up a 30-yard play, and they end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. If he makes that tackle, it's 2nd and 11. And instead, they have 1st and 10 from, they're at the 30-yard line all of a sudden. I thought that
you just like to pick on Nate Geary. There's a missed tackle on every team.
That one is egregious, though.
Did you?
That was a big one.
Did you feel like he played a bad game?
No, he played a good game.
I thought you were going to use that to he's not an NFL line. He played a good game. That
I
was
just
just a
say that.
really
I just
bad
thought
play.
that play there, that he makes that tackle. I wonder what's different in that game.
That's part of the problem with with yesterday is there was missed plays as well as trending issues.
Mm-hmm.
So the combination leaves you pretty
you
frustrated.
Got the whole stew.
That play, I don't know if it lost in the game, but that's the only touchdown that was scored. I mean, that was the only touchdown
for them. Right?
They had kicked field goal. If he gets a stop there and they settle for a field goal, it's a different game.
Absolutely.
Was that a third? No, what
it was
that?
a 1st and 10.
Yeah,
he hits him.
I mean, you don't know that they don't come back on the pass on the next play.
Sure,
but certainly
he ends
I
up
get
getting
your
a
point.
30-yard play instead of a -1.
Right, on a day where there are very few plays of at least 10 yards.
Correct.
That was huge.
Yes. And I mean, it wasn't like the guy juked him out of his jockstrap. He absolutely hit him and just bounced off of him.
Yeah.
And he just didn't make the tackle.
Yeah.
And it's not like he was trying to tackle Zeke Elliott. It was Rex Burkhead.
Rex is a big guy. Big burly Nebraska guy. That's Nebraska on Nebraska right there.
All right, let's get Grayson's
corn-fed
grades
on corn-fed.
and see what he thought from yesterday. Any of those offerings excite you there? Wentz's erratic play, Aguilar drop, Lane Johnson injured, Nate Geary. Which one would you put your vote in for, Scott Grayson?
If I had to rank them, I would go Lane Johnson first, but Nate Geary to me is a second. I would pick that tackle. It was a key moment of the game, and I hear both your guys' points. Yes, that tackle needs to be made. I felt like the defense had been frustrating the Patriots, and that tackle would have gone along the lines of continuing to frustrate them with those short gains. But I also hear Jeff's point as well, which is they could have rolled out that play at any time, and I mean, Dorsett was so wide open in the end zone. It wouldn't have mattered if it was from the distance it was at or if it was 10 yards farther downfield. I mean, the tackle's got to be made, but Lane Johnson leaving to me, that offense was not the same. Wentz was not the same. The play calling was not the same. And the formations, quite frankly, were not the same from that moment on.
Well, he talked about today, why didn't they keep running the ball or why did they get away from it? He said, I was looking for that explosive play, looking for that big play. And then he said, we were looking for the big play, and then we wanted to go back to the big play never came. But they weren't running the ball all that well.
Well, no. And tell me, when has there been a big play all season when Deshaun Jackson has not been in the game?
A handful of Sanders wheel routes, but yeah, you're right.
Okay. Yeah, but not that, like, break the top off a defense play. I mean, who would have thought the first play of the game was going to be a pass interference to Boston Scott of all things? And I think that's just because Wentz had to extend the play and saw one-on-one coverage downfield.
Yeah, you gave.
I'm not even sure, by the way, that was really among the other calls that game. I'm not even sure that was egregious pass interference.
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, you have a running back trying to catch a ball he's never caught 35 yards downfield. It didn't look like he was in a great position to make the catch.
No.
And I didn't think he was interfered with that much. But
I agree with you guys. And when you asked the question, Mike, about the run game, here's my thing. And I was asking a couple of players about this in the locker room afterwards. And, of course, because it relates to play calling, nobody's going to say anything, which is kind of what I expected, but I felt like asking anyway. The screen game seemed to me like it was working decently enough in the first half. It was producing. If you can't run the ball, a screen pass, I think everybody pretty much agrees, is essentially the same as a run. And, they were mixing in different guys doing it. And if Miles Sanders, I mean, look, you look at what the Patriots did. Everybody thought they were going to take away Zach Ertz. They took away Miles Sanders as a receiver out of the backfield. I thought that one way you could get him the ball as a receiver perhaps out along and away from the offensive line, a little bit further towards the sideline, is on a screenplay or over the middle after the initial rush goes through, run that screen to Miles Sanders there. I was just, quite frankly, when they couldn't do anything else, I couldn't believe they did not try to mix in a screen pass here or there in the second half. And quite frankly, with Lane Johnson out of the game, when I talked about the formation changes, you're telling me you're going to run out there a formation that you're clearly looking for max protect and max run blocking. And they did get a little bit of yardage on it, but you've got you had Dillard come in as a extra blocker along with Vaitai next to him for Lane Johnson. And then you had your two tight ends. Your only receiver at the time in the game is Matt Collins. I mean, some of the stuff they did in the second half just bothered me.
And I didn't, I thought Boston Scott in the punt return game killed him. He had two times where he received the ball inside the 10 instead of letting it hit. And then the one time he catches the ball instead of letting it drop. I mean, or he should have let it drop. He ends up catching it. And Peterson brought it up today that they had bad field position all day. Well, yeah, your punt returner kept catching the ball inside the 5.
Yeah, and and here's the thing. I agreed with you, and that's in my grades. I gave Boston Scott a D, largely for that reason, his special teams play. You've got several guys that work during the week at punt return, at kick return, but Boston Scott was featured exclusively in both roles. You telling me that when something's not going well, that you can't go and get
your other options, Aguilar
else? Yeah, I know, and I know he can't catch a cold, but maybe he, I got to believe he's going to do a better job returning a kick once he gets it than Boston Scott was at the time. I mean, you got to, in my opinion, at least try doing something different. If what you have isn't working, don't you at least have to try something different to see if maybe a different result? Even after Boston Scott tried to play basketball with it on the one kickoff return, don't you need to try somebody else out there to try?
That was amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a guy fumble, recover, fumble, kick, and then have the other team recover it only to just completely botch it and have it go out of bounds. I actually thought the Eagles were going to win after that because how could that play happen and a team lose?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That was a wild one.
On the bright side, though, Scott, as we look forward and a little bit, the defense has really come together the last 3 games. I think it's now, 43 points in total over the last 3 games. And Camus Crugier-Hill coming back has really helped solidify the linebacking core. You gave him a B for this game, and I agree. I thought he was kind of all over the place, and as you would expect him to be with that Patriots offense, and really helped. I think that middle level is starting to look better.
Yeah, it was funny. I guess combined with the Nate Gary thing, you look at it and you go, man, if they can just get Nigel Bradham back. Camus, to me, really is playing well. 3 tackles for a loss yesterday, really one of the key parts of helping to stop that running game that the Patriots were trying to do. I think Camus playing well. I think you're right. Overall, the defense is clearly at a different level than it was earlier in the season. And a lot of that, I think you do have to say, has to do with the secondary getting healthier, but also the front 4 getting healthier. I think they're playing at a better level as well. There's more rotation going on now with more guys healthier. And you're just seeing better product out of it. I mean, Tom Brady, to me, looked awful yesterday. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was not good. And they're the Patriots for a reason. They find a way to win. And good for you. The only touchdown pass of the game didn't even come from Brady. But, it just shows me that I think that defense really is – it's a shame. They held the Patriots to 17 points and were given a short field multiple times and still defended it and kept them out of the end zone except for the one long drive. To me, you got to win those games, and that requires your offense to pick up your defense, really to back your defense and finish what they can. And, it's just unfortunate. But I do think if you want to look for a bright spot or a reason why the Eagles are going to make the playoffs, I think you look at that defense and you say, the way they're playing, they can get this team to the playoffs and win this division.
Hey, Scott, real quick on the linebacker situation. When Nigel comes back, do you still see him as their best linebacker? Because I feel like Camus, when healthy and the way he played yesterday, and granted it's just one game, but he had such a great offseason, I feel like he's more equipped to be this team's best linebacker, and maybe they're in dime so much to be their dime linebacker because of his range compared to Nigel's.
I agree with you. Not only that, just the lack of time that Nigel's missed. I mean, he's got to get back up to game speed.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, Camus is playing well. You're right. He is playing well. It was yesterday. It was one game, but he is. He floats around. I've been impressed with Camus. I was even thinking that in the preseason a little bit, and late last season. I've just seen growth in him that, to me, I think you do. I think you lean on him. I just think Nigel is definitely an upgrade over Gary. And that's not to say Gary's not a good player. He did play a decent game yesterday. But Nigel and Camus together, I think, are going to definitely make this defense, that second level especially, much better.
Yeah, Scott, when you look through your grades and even just recapping the game in general, anything positive on the Philadelphia Eagles side of the ball seems to come from the defense. And as you scroll down on your grades on 97.3 ESPN.com, you find Miles Sanders. And, you gave Miles the grade of a C, and no Alshon Jeffrey, no Jordan Howard. You got nothing. And Miles has had some big plays, as, Gil mentioned a few minutes ago. Where did he go? I know the Patriots did a good job of limiting him coming out of the backfield as a receiver, but only 4 touches in the second half, same as Boston Scott. You might as well give him the ball a little bit more and just see what happens, no?
Well, I mean, honest to God, there were a lot of things I couldn't figure out with that offense. I highlighted the fact that multiple times they rolled out Mac Hollins as your only receiver in formations. And, to me, the Sanders getting only 4 touches, the amount of touches Boston Scott got, when he's not showing you, what are we rewarding Boston Scott with touches for when we talked about what happened in the punt game and the kickoff returns? I just felt like, this was a classic opportunity to try to feature Sanders more and just at least give him what he got in the first half because, no, he wasn't breaking the back off this defense, but the offensive line was giving them the opportunity to run for 3-4 yards. And that's what Miles Sanders was doing, and averaged, I think, 3.5 yards or so per carry. That's positive. You're winning the down when you can do that. And I just don't understand why Doug went away from that entirely. Everything changed. You look at Carson Wentz. Carson's eyes were not downfield the moment Lane Johnson went out of the game. He was consistently worried about that rush. Look at Doug Peterson. His play calls were not what they were when Lane Johnson was in the game. He changed everything. It's almost like he was sitting there with a blindfold and somebody with a spinner like you use when you're playing Chutes and Ladders or something like that. And whatever it landed on, that's the play he went with or the formation. It just everything looked crazy. And I think coming into the game, a lot of people thought they could lose to the Patriots for sure. But when you see that you have a 10-0 lead and you're leading 10-9 at the half, to not finish it and to get that kind of a performance out of your defense is just, I think, what makes today irritating and frustrating for Eagles fans.
Scott Grayson, check out all the grades at 97.3 ESPN.com as the Eagles lose 17-10. They go up 10-0. They've got the early lead, and they cannot close it out. And, of course, you can check out the grades at 97.3 ESPN.com. Thanks, Scott.
All right, thanks, guys.
Scott Grayson, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.